Good afternoon. It is now 2:02 p.m. and this EAGI committee will now come back from recess. Prior to the recess, we were questioning the nominee for the Commonwealth Election Commission, Mr. John Atto, to represent the second senatorial district. And we are now back from recess. And this afternoon, we will evaluate the credentials of Mr. Richard De La Cruz Farrow, who was nominated by Governor Palacios on July 24th, 2024, to serve as a member of the Civil Service Commission to represent the second senatorial district of Tinian and Aguiguan. This nomination comes before the EAGI committee pursuant to the NMI Constitution and laws which require the advice and consent of the Senate, a procedure unique to the Senate, to vet the credentials beyond the nominee's educational and professional standing in order to either recommend confirming or rejecting this nomination. In this hearing, we will be asking questions of vital concerns to this committee and the public. At this time, we will go back to number 3 on the agenda, and I ask Mr. Oscar Babauta, the Special Assistant for Administration, the nominee, Mr. Richard Farrell, to please join us in your chamber. Mr. Babauta, you may begin your introduction of the nominee when you are ready, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to you and the members of your esteemed committee. My name is Oscar Mbabauta, the Special Assistant for Administration under the Office of the Governor on behalf of Honorable Governor Honoré Palacios and the Honorable Lieutenant Governor David M. Mapatang. I thank you for the opportunity again this afternoon to appear before you today. I'm here to officially introduce Mr. Richard De La Cruz Farrow, the Governor Lieutenant Governor's nominee for the Civil Service Commission, representing the 2nd Senator District, Island of Tinian and Aguiguan. By this time, you should have his resume showcasing his professional experiences and education. Mr. Farrow has an outstanding 31 years of service, record that speaks volume throughout his career. He has consistently made significant contributions to the Sinamay government and the private sector. His resume highlights his remarkable achievement and unwavering commitment to serving the Sinamay government with confidence and dedication. Governor Palacios and Lieutenant Governor Apateng places their full, complete trust and confidence in Mr. Farrow's ability to serve as a Civil Service Commissioner. His experiences, credentials, and commitment to serving the Commonwealth made him an outstanding candidate for this role. We are confident that he is well prepared to answer any questions you may have and present his vision for the future, and we kindly ask for your expeditious approval. Thank you, Jesus Masi and Deliso, Madam Chair, and members of this committee for today's hearing in this August body. Jesus Masi and buenos dias.
Jesus Masi, Senor Babauta. At this time, we will move forward and open the floor for public comments. The floor is now open for public comments and pursuant to the Senate rules. Please state your name and the entity you represent for the record, and you may have 5 minutes for your comments.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Joseph M. Pangilinan, and I'm the Director of Personnel Management, Office of Personnel Management. I just learned like 15 minutes ago that Mr. Farrow is going to be up here being confirmed, so I just tried to get as much information in 15 minutes. So the important thing is that I'm here to support him.
Thank you.
And after talking to him, I noticed that he has 32 years of service in the Sinamay government. He started out as a summer youth in 1989, June. And then in April of 1991, he was a Quarantine Inspector 1, and then got promoted to a Quarantine Inspector 3 in 2001. So that's about 10 years. And then after that, he was appointed in 2001 all the way to 2010, all the way to 15 as a resident department head for DLNR. And that's about 5 years. And then after that, he became a forestry technician one in July 2016. And then all the way, he got promoted to agriculture quarantine forest inspector 3. So just looking at the work experience that he possessed as a civil service employee, he knows what it takes to be a civil servant, and being appointed as a member of the Civil Service Commission, he understands that there is regulations, policies, regulations, rules, and I believe he has gone through that. He experienced he knows what are the duties, responsibilities, uh, benefits, opportunities, generally the policy of the civil service system. So, being in the civil service for a while, he understands that civil service employees have rights. And also, he has some experience as a resident director, understanding the scope of being at that level, supervising, delegating, and getting things done. So, with that being said, I'm here to support Mr. Farrell to be a member of the Civil Service Commission for the island of Tinian. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pangilinan. The floor is still open for public comments. Since there are no further individuals interested in making public comments, we will move on. I now invite the nominee, Mr. Farrell, to please rise and raise your right hand. Mr. Devin Macronis will administer the oath to you.
Richard De La Cruz Farrow, you do solemnly swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you shall give in the matter at hand shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
You may be seated. Thank you. Thank you and welcome, Mr. Farrell. At this time, I will open up the floor to you. Should you desire to make any opening remarks to the committee, you may do so at this time.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. About that, let me just put on my headlights. Good afternoon, all. Honorable Senator Babauta, esteemed committee members, and distinguished guests. I am deeply honored to have been nominated by Governor Palacios and Lieutenant Governor Apatang for a position on the Civil Service Commission. This nomination is not only a testament to their trust, but also a call to further the service our community with dedication and integrity. With over 30 years of experience servicing in various capacities within the scene of my government, I have witnessed firsthand the evolving needs of our community and the importance of responsive and effective civil service. My extensive background encompasses roles in agricultural, biosecurity, and natural resource management, where I have consistently prioritized accountability, transparency, and community engagement. I wish to express my heartfelt gratitude to you, Senator Babauta, and to this esteemed committee for considering my nomination. Your commitment to ensuring that our civil service operates with efficiency, fairness, and transparency is vital to the progress of the governance of our community. If given an opportunity to serve on the commission, I am eager to work with fellow commissioners to foster an environment where our civil service can continue to improve and thrive. I am committed to promoting principles of accountability, excellence, ensuring that our workforce remains motivated and aligned with the needs of those we serve. Together, I believe we can uphold the high standards that our community deserves, ensuring that our public service continues to respond effectively to the challenges and opportunities of our time. Thank you once again for this opportunity and for the chance to engage with all of you today. I look forward for the possibility of contributing to our shared mission of strengthening our civil service. Thank you.
Mr. Farrell, we will go right into the question portion of the hearing, and I'll begin for everyone here. Mr. Farrell, you've been mostly employed in the fields of agriculture, quarantine, Lands and Natural Resources. How do you believe this experience has prepared you for the role that you may be taking upon should you be confirmed as a commissioner for the Civil Service Commission?
That is a excellent question, and I've asked myself that since being nominated, is how can I contribute, or am I the right person for Tinian? Because I'm representing that island for Civil Service Commission. I'm not sure if I'm the right person, but I can work towards being a contributing member for the commission. I've basically I've probably seen only one side of the aspects of the civil service because I've been in that DLNR for the most of my career. So I can work with other agencies, other managements, and to see what issues they may have that I can use my abilities, if approved to be on the commission, to work with getting the issues straightened out or getting questions answered for the respective agencies.
Thank you. Which leads me to my next question. Is your current position a agriculture quarantine specialist 3? Is that a classified position? Is it civil service?
It is civil service. It's agricultural inspector 3, agricultural quarantine inspector 3. It was
Okay.
I'm under the customs and biosecurity
Okay.
within the measure.
So as a classified employee from Tinian, how has your position as an inspector prepared you for this role that you will now take on to be a part of the board that adjudicates civil service, concerns and complaints? As a classified employee now, how do you think that role prepares you to be a board member and policy maker for other civil service employees?
Working with fellow coworkers and also other agencies, you tend to hear little issues that could be is a concern around the civil service on.
Do you think your position now as a classified employee, in your position now, do you feel that you have seen one side of that coin and now you are ready to make recommendations as to changes in the regulations for the civil service employees or personnel system? Do you think your classified position now has helped you in that?
I believe I can work with the commission on issues that would come up regarding the civil service employees.
Do you
There-
think there's any part of the regulation that needs to be changed at this time based on your own experiences as a civil service employee?
Yes, there can be some issues or some amendments or some tweaks to the regulations that may be beneficial, not just for the civil service employees, but also for the government as a whole.
Would you like to share those recommendations at this time? Have you encountered any challenges, any issues that are counterproductive for the benefit of civil service employees?
This would have to be something that I've experienced as a director from 2010 to 2015. And it could be happening in any other agencies is where when you have an FTE that's announced to hire somebody and they give you a pay scale, the pay level between, let me, just for the sake of what I'm trying to elaborate here on, if the pay level is pay level 1, and then you got, and scale is up to 2 steps. If you have 2 positions opens that are the same, and I'm applying for one, and let's say I have a twin brother that's applying for the other one, and we both meet the qualifications. If I get a pay level of, let's say, pay level 1, step 2, and he gets a pay level 1, step 1, that's something that may cause animosity between the employees within that agency or that department. And it also doesn't really boost morale, because then it's like, I'm going to give you this salary, but I'm going to give you this salary. And they both have the same qualifications.
Mhm.
It can be with any agency, any department. I believe that if it's legal and if it's possible, if an announcements were put out and they're 2 of the same positions, then there should be a set salary schedule. That way, if the FTE is funded by a budget committee with the Senate and the House, then that FTE should not have a gap. You see what I'm trying to say? Because then it can create issues within the agency or the department.
Okay, sure. You stated in your resume you have an associate's degree in business with an emphasis in management. How has your educational background equipped you to be a commissioner of the Civil Service Commission? How do you think your education has equipped you to be a better policymaker?
It's given me an opportunity to understand employees. Not every employee has the same demeanor as the next employee, meaning they always have one is very aggressive and one may be very passive, and one may be there for their benefit and one's there for the benefit of the community or for the agency or as a whole. There's no one person's ever going to be. It's not going to be like a cookie cutter type of issue. You're always going to have to deal with the internal politics that goes along with it. And I guess we all have that in life. It's just the way it is. You have to deal with people, and you have to be very proactive on working with the ones who are very vocal and the ones who are very quiet or have a demeanor.
I yield for now to other members. I will recognize Senator Donald Benglonia at this time.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon and congratulations, Mr. Farrell, on your appointment. And thank you for the years of services that you've provided to the Commonwealth. What is your idea of, well, first of all, are you familiar with the OPM office on Tinian? And if so, how many employees are under that office?
Yes, I know. See, Miss Joanne Audon is the OPM representative down there. She's the only one, I believe, currently, unless she has assistance from possibly the mayor's office. I'm not sure.
Do you know what her role is on Tinian?
I believe
what
she is.
capabilities she has, and
Because I remember, I don't want to say director because that one's no longer. That's how old school I am. I think she is the lead down there for OPM.
okay.
No, she is the lead for OPM
Right.
because everything goes through her.
And the reason I asked that is because on Rhoda, similar situation, we have 2 employees, I believe, that are under that office, and their responsibilities are very limited. For somebody who I don't know, from somebody on the outside looking in, it seems like they're basic responsibilities is getting documents and sending it off. And so I brought this up in the past, nominees for Civil Service Commission to look into to see how we can give Rhoda, Antinian, OPM more autonomy over the processes it takes to hiring individuals. A lot of the times we are left waiting to see where the papers are at and the routing process and the delay in the routing process. Even through the budget hearing, we've heard from our counterparts on Rhoda and Tinian that some of these positions have became vacant, but then it took months just to get announced. And so we don't know where the disconnect lies, or the collaboration or lack thereof between the agencies involved in hiring personnel, that is kind of crippling our economy on Rhoda and Tinian in terms of filling these positions that are needed in the agencies. And so, albeit there's maybe only one or two on Rhoda and Tinian, but I think if they're maybe trained or even have the capability to approve certain parts of their application, that could help speed up the process in terms of getting our people employed. And so whatever the needs may be, through the Civil Service Commission or OPM, could be provided in these budget hearings to see how we can fund these agencies enough to operate at the same level that the main office here in Saipan operates. And that's going through the entire process of hiring to or advertising to down to where they're, I guess they have the notice to proceed or whatever the process may be. Have you yourself as an employee gone through any issues with OPM or civil service in terms of, I don't know, whether there be any complaints that you've made or even during the hiring process? Have you experienced any challenges there? And if so, how do you plan to address that?
Oh, there have been several. A lot of it most of it has to do with funding issues. During the 2010 and 2015, as being a resident department head for lands and natural resources, we had the first austerity, we had the 64 hours for the staff. Funding would always be an issue. Hiring those that, and when I was there, we had several that retired. So the FTE was zeroed out because of the issues with the funding, and which is understandable because it was a dire situation at the time. What solutions that I can bring to the table or to the commission is working with the fellow commissioners and with also the agencies and also our respective leaders on trying to address where those cracks may need to be filled. And I agree with you, Senator Magdalena, that there have been issues regarding replacing of FTEs. I've been listening to the budget hearings for the last 3 or 4 months, and it's a challenge. It's a challenge for all 3 areas. So finding that the crack that's causing the delays, it's going to be a challenge. But I believe I can work with the commissioners on identifying it and see how we can streamline it to be more efficient in the long run. Because at the end of the day, there are positions that I see, whether it's not in the agency that I work for, but it's in a related agency that has a very important role in what we do on a daily basis. So
Yeah.
I would have to work with the fellow commissioners and see where we can come up with if my nomination is approved. work with the fellow commissioners and see what we can do to streamline this and make it more efficient in the long run.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I just wanted to bring that up because just today I received a copy of someone's contract who was just signed early last month, and so something as simple as, well, just a brief history. When these positions became vacant in the start of the fiscal year and they haven't been filled by the time budget was submitted, these positions were zeroed out in the proposed budget for next fiscal year. But there is funding for the current fiscal year to employ that. And so all this time, that employee could have started working when the green light was given to fill this position, even though it was going to be what they call a probationary appointment. They could have been working from when the budget was submitted until the end of the fiscal year, and that'll be up for the legislature to decide if we're going to continue to fund it for next fiscal year. But there's an individual only has 2 months left in the fiscal year to come on board, and so it's that wherever that disconnect is, I think that's something that the commissioners can look into to see how we can have a smoother process and ensure that the rights of our employees on Road and Tinian are, they're given that fair opportunity like their counterparts here on Saipan. Have you ever looked into, and let's just use your current position as an example, what you're getting paid at in comparison to other jurisdictions?
Other jurisdictions, meaning outside the CMI?
Yeah, whether it be Guam or Hawaii, that
Oh,
have
yes.
similar.
Yes, I have.
And you've seen the disparity there, right?
Yes.
Another thing that I have asked the previous nominees for civil service is to look into a study on the pay scale of our employees here in the CNMI. I know that requires funding, but should you be confirmed, I hope that's something that you can continue to push for and see what that cost would be to the government to do a study to see how can we raise some of these salaries that have been left untouched for years, so that we can, we can continue to retain and attract our people to come back and work for our government and work in the CNMI. DPS, for example, right? Appeal 1 is at 21 or 22, somewhere around there, but yet their counterpart on Guam is making close to 40,000. And so there's a huge gap there. And so it's not to say that we're going to approve or adopt or pay out the whatever comes out of your study, but it's something for us to consider, and it's something that we can bring back to these agencies and see if how can we raise your salaries, but at the same time limit the hiring while we are in the process of doing that. So if you can see how much that study will cost, and then propose that to the legislature for consideration, whether it be even if that's something that you like to start in next fiscal year when you leave here today and you meet up with the rest of the commission, see if that can be done next fiscal year. And I know that the acting director is here and he can share that message also. But if any commissioners are listening, I hope that that's something that we can kind of push for next fiscal year as a start to seeing how we can get our pay level to where it needs to be in today's where we can be today in comparison with the nation. I know that I think there's a bill that both houses had passed and is now at the governor's desk that would remove marijuana drug testing from pre-employment requirements. What is your opinion on that?
I believe there should be drug testing. This is my personal belief on because we had this discussion for the last since the cannabis commission was and the laws were all passed and people voted. I believe there should be drug testing implemented still on a scale of if a person is in charge of, let's say, in charge of carrying them or transporting them, whether it's on a plane or bus, taxi, they should still go through a drug testing process. Meaning that if you're in charge of someone else's life, then there's still, and I've always believed in that. As far as we still have the federal guidelines that still make it illegal, and until such time that the federal guidelines change, I would have to decide with what's the CNMI government puts in place as a law for drug testing, and that will be the way we can approach, or the way I would approach it is that whatever is passed on the CNMI level, then we'll go ahead and go with that.
Thank you for sharing that. I just brought that one up while it's making its way, or it's at the governor's desk. It was something that was brought up during the hearings that this was probably something that could have been changed in the commission level. But because I don't know, maybe because no action has been done yet since that time, we've taken this route. But I hope that that's something that the commission can look into in terms of what jobs also are would be exempted from this this bill being enacted into law. And so thank you for your time and your responses. I yield at this time. Sure.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator Magnolia. Are there any other questions from? Yeah. Recognize Senator Karina Magovnia.
Thank you, Chairwoman, and good afternoon to you, Mr. Farrow. Congratulations on your nomination, and thank you for accepting. No questions really on my end. I just wanted to bring to your attention, if you haven't looked at the citizen-centric report for FY23, under active appeal cases, there's a total of 13. One of them going back as far as 2019, and I just asked that should you be confirmed, if you could look into the one that's really old. I mean, nobody should have to wait this long over 4 years, 5 years, to get some kind of resolution on their complaint or grievance, whatever it is that they have filed. So I just ask that you please look into these active cases and figure out what's delaying the process. I know from speaking with the chairman back then, maybe last year, or maybe earlier this year, I think part of the delay is the hiring of a hearing officer. But if that's the case, then I would highly recommend that the commission, take some really assertive measures to find and fill this position if that's what's holding up the process. Nobody's rights should be held off that long. So please take a look at that. And other than that, that's all I have. Thank you, Chair. I yield.
Thank you, Senator Magovnia. I now recognize Senator Jude Hofschneid.
Madam Chair, and good afternoon, everyone, once again, especially our nominee, Mr. Richard De La Cruz Farrow. Welcome to the Senate. I might just go off on some suggestions, as I know that this is your first opportunity, to represent the Civil Service Commission as a board, as a commissioner. I do want to also thank you for dialing in and accepting this nomination. I know that this is another level of another responsibility that you're assuming, on top of what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, and it's it's commendable, and I appreciate that. Civil service is actually a constitutionally created, believe it or not, Article 20 of our Constitution, and it's really very explicit in terms of its function. However, through the course of our government, there are oftentimes it becomes an agency or primarily the OPM that now you're overseeing. Sometimes a policy decision was made to remove it from under your watch. So what that created is it kind of convolute, and it bypass a lot of merits and fairness within the hiring practice, that it ballooned the executive service contracts over the years, and the civil service employees for a number of years were left neglected, so to speak. The reason why I said that, comfortably said that, because I've worked closely with previous civil service commissioners and some members of the Office of Personnel Management in how to craft a legislation to put it back under the watch of Civil Service Commission. I'm talking about OPM, of which we successfully did it together back in the 17th legislature, and it's now 1780. So that's the law that actually placed Civil Service Commission to be the entity to administer the OPM. And I know that it's not an overnight fix, but I do know that there's been some substantive changes since then, in addition to all the government activities contained in the CNMI. And during the course of time, there's other entities, autonomous agencies, semi-autonomous agencies, independent agencies. PSS became a 25% by constitution that we need to place them under that requirement. So a lot of that have transformed into where we're at today. But at the same time, the Civil Service Commission and OPM remains intact to take care of the line agencies employees. So, Mr. Farrell, basically, I guess what I'm trying to get to is to request that should you be confirmed, that you continue working with your fellow commissioners and OPM to see how we can better address some of the loose ends or some of the problematic provisions in the civil service rules and regs, and of course the laws, to ensure there's parities, not disparities, within the government entities, employment. I want to bring this one issue up. It was brought to my attention several times, and even during budget hearings. Like, for example, there is a civil service. There's a vacancy of a classified employment opportunity, and one individual applied for them, one or two maybe, and they actually qualified to do it. But the question that always comes around is, okay, that person that is qualified is an ESA, Accepted Service, ESC, contract, but is qualified for that classified position. If it's not prohibited by law, and if it's just a regulation change that needs, can we look closely into that and allow for continuity of that employee or that individual to carry on to the classified position, and instead not mandating them to sever ties with the government and go through the whole motion again, knowing that he or she is a qualified person? Why do we require them to sever ties with the government and then go back to going through the requisite as that of a new employee, when in fact that person is actually a government employee already. It's just a different title, different classification. So I think it plays an undue burden on the individual, and it doesn't make sense, quite frankly, to carry that kind of. And if I'm mistaken or I'm left uninformed, then I would like to hear from someone, not necessarily you, but if confirmed, can you respond to this inquiry? Because it appears that it's a MO or a standard operating procedure right now that's being done, and it's just, as that was mentioned earlier by the vice president, at his question with regards to the representation of second, first senatorial district, OPM, the time frame. And as all of us know in here, the budget is a depreciating. It's a depreciating working plan of work. So you can imagine the weight and the unnecessary again undue burden on that individual. It's troubling for us to hear that it takes 10 months, sometimes 7 months, sometimes, and then to the person that is given the queue or the qualification that you are, only to get another memo saying that, yeah, go ahead and apply, but we cannot guarantee you that you're going to continue employment for the next fiscal year. So that's not very you know what I mean. So those are the things that we raise up to you as a means of just tweaking some of the regulations on how to do business in terms of picking up or filling the much needed vacancy, of a qualified applicant. And the other thing is that I want to bring forth is, I'm sure you remember this Public Law 7-31, no? The for those that remembered, it's the the salary schedule. We've overcome that collectively as a government by adopting a new salary scale. I hope that if once you confirm, work with OPM and the agencies and make sure that we don't fall into that trap again of putting it aside, and it's burdening the government, and it balloons into an unfunded liability for the CNMI government, only to put pressure on everything else. So that right now the revenue is very thin. So I think that if there is the way that is being functioning right now, in my little understanding, is that it's, if you are going to get that salary increase or that adjustment, it's operating smoothly, so to speak. I don't hear any of the agencies coming forth during budget hearings saying that, oh, this person was owed this much because he didn't get this, or is qualified for this but didn't get that. So I'm very pleased that we're not hearing it. I don't know if they're unaware or they just don't share with us, but that means that it's not a concern yet. So with regards to the pay scale and all that, like what you kind of initially mentioned earlier, I ask that we monitor that closely during the course of your term, and work with the director. And I appreciate Director Pangilinan for joining us this afternoon. You are you hold a very important role in the OPM and civil service as well. I think pretty much just the operative side, Mr. Farrell. And I'm confident with the institutional knowledge and the vast experience of OPM folks, OPM employees. And at the same time, if there's any, if you'd like to share any comments with regards to any of the comments being made, what I made, feel free to do so. You can do it now or you can do it later. But I do want to, I posed this question earlier, I think, to the hearing earlier about, the election commission, about non-compensated elected office, the non-partisan, like Board of Education, Municipal Council. what is what's your opinion on them not being required to take leave once certified during in an election season? Because oftentimes that individual, no, is willing to work or willing to serve, put himself or herself for public scrutiny, but of course, there's not enough uh, the accrued leave, and then only to. I guess you understand what I'm trying to say. Go ahead and respond to it if you wish to.
May I respond on the earlier comments or suggestions you made? Past issues that I've encountered as a manager still kind of are in limbo. I know that Senator Mogofna brought up concern also, as well as in what you just brought up. I'm not sure if those have been addressed because, like, that's a different time. It's a different time now than it was in the past. But there are issues, like you mentioned. Is it maybe because they fell through the cracks? I hope to think so, and I hope it's not a vendetta or something placed on a staff member because they voiced their concern about how to streamline or make it more efficient for their respective role as where they're at. And if I may, I just want to bring this up as a personal comment. I've seen someone who had applied, went through the process, and the paper was filed away. I tried to get that issue rectified in the past, but like I said, it was a tough time during that tenure when we had the 64-hour pay cut and the budget was really, it was really delicate. When I left office, I did prepare and submitted a small file to the next resident department head to please monitor these and see what you can do when the time has come. I am not sure if that issue is still there. I believe it has been rectified, but right now that's above my. I don't have that clearance, I guess what you call it, above my pay grade to look into those people's files and stuff. As far as bringing up the issue on, and maybe I'm overstepping, and I would work with the commission to see if it is possible. We've had worked as an OIC for the quarantine side at that time. We had worked with FTEs that was a tremendous help for our section at that time. They went through the process of federal training certification. And those federal certifications are not easy. You don't pass in one try. It takes 2 to 3. And then trying to get them on board was very difficult. A lot of them weren't. The FD wasn't there, or the budget wasn't available at that time. Then this is prior to being a director, but as an OIC, as a management member or supervisor, you put a lot of time and effort on training personnel that are not civil service employees. They may be ungraded, but at the end of the day, when it's time to try and get them on board, because you eliminate that process of training them. And like I said, on the federal level for training for the quarantine site, it takes anywhere from 9 to maybe a month and a half, 18 months. I'm sorry, 9 months to 18 months to get everything processed. And it's a never-ending training on being cooperators or collaborators with the federal agency. And it's not just that one agency; it's several agencies on a federal side. So you put your time and effort on training those personnel, and then you cannot get them hired. It's very disheartening because you found somebody that is really good at their job, and you can't get them on board because it's just a very it's an issue of the budget, and it's understandable. There's only so much that can go around. But I really wish we can turn around and come to an understanding that some of these long-term FTEs that have been in the system 20 plus years and 10 years and 15 years and even 5 years, they're very dedicated. I know some that are going on 40 years and they're still in a situation that I wish if it was a perfect world, we wouldn't be having this discussion.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's disheartening to have all this training and the scene of my government doesn't pay one dime for those trainings in the past.
So, Rich, if I may, and I see where you're getting. Remember, if you recall, the 120-hour training, and then you get a bump in as a result of you satisfactorily went through that. If confirmed, I wish for you and the commission to heavily study that to include continuing education programs for employees. Um, account for that because that's the only way for, like you mentioned earlier, that's the only way for our civil servants to feel validated and the morale. No, if you um, give them that incentive. Secondly, I want to mention this before I lose my train of thought. Um, have a if this audit hasn't been done, because a lot of this too is the onus on the head agency, like the directors, the secretaries, whatever, right? They need to be up and up on their employees so that they understand that this employee has been stuck at this for X amount of years. I think it should compel them to reach out to OPM and say, "Hey, can we get a, guidance on my staff because I feel like they're being they may be qualified for something else." So I think it falls under your watch as well as a civil service commission and OPM, because the thing that gets out of this, it also allows the legislature to understand where the trend is. Some of the guidelines have very very explicit in terms of penalties and all that, but yet we're kind of lackadaisical and even us in giving merits to deserving people. And I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just saying everyone, including us here, I mean me, we're sitting here. We need to be guided accordingly. As of course, money is always going to be a discussion every year, every month. But it's our job to try and narrow the variation. Um, that and you know I want to piggyback on Senator Magofnia's concern with regards to the appeals. Last legislature, I introduced a legislation to create a administrative appeals division or agency to assign a. It's almost like a function of the judiciary, right? But it's more on the administrative because there's a lot of other pending hearings that not necessarily just civil service, but there's others like other agencies that are really just lingering, and there's not many hearing officers. So what that does is it prolongs the wait time. So it's not doing anybody good. That in itself can actually resolve an appeal or an impasse or a conflict from going to the judicial review, the court. I mean, so if we can help us facilitate a division of administrative hearing within the OPM, or if we need a law, I think we need to consider that because that's the only thing. It will save a lot of time and also would resolve a lot of issues with civil service employees and other entities that in need of a hearing office. I want to just mention that And I think I'm gonna stop at this moment. I think you have quite a bit of information already, and you're no stranger to the government, so everything else is pretty much your knowledge. And then I wish to thank you again for being here this afternoon. But before I yield back, I want to also recognize uh, your other half, Miss Selena, and your son, Rich, for being here. Thank you for being with us today. And I yield back, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Hofschneider. Are there any other questions? Recognize Senator Donald Maglonia.
Thank you, Chair. Just to briefly piggyback off Senator Jute's question regarding the nonpartisan positions, I think if that's something that I don't know if they're unsure which agency really falls under, but that's something that maybe the CSC and CEC with I think the chair is Kiyoshi. You guys can communicate and work together to kind of address that issue also. Just thinking about even something, for example, positions such as a teacher, right? They accumulate 40 hours a year, and that's just one week of when they would have to take leave to run for office. And so, I accumulated 8 years worth of leave just to be enough to seek office. And so, how can we address that issue in terms of, even enticing other individuals to want to run for office with the understanding that a lot of the leave will have to be used just to seek office. And so, how can we address that issue with the nonpartisan positions and to allow for these individuals to either work or maybe get some sort of admin leave or something to assist in that process? So I just wanted to piggyback on that discussion. I know I believe the issue was brought up earlier with Mr. Attell's hearing, and I think it was a director that kind of mentioned civil service or OPM, and so whichever the entity may be responsible for that. I mean, if there can be that communication with CEC also to see how that can be addressed. That's all I wanted to bring up. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Senator Maglonia. We have no further questions for you, Mr. Farrell. We understand your limitations, having never been on the Civil Service Commission Board. You did your best, and we appreciate your making the time to come out here and join us for this hearing today. You are hereby dismissed.
Thank you.
Moving along with the next item on the agenda, we have miscellaneous. Is there any-
Just a quick one, Madam Chair.
Sure.
I sent out the notice this morning for fiscal affairs on Friday at 10 a.m. To discuss the bills that was on the agenda last week. So it's a continuation. So that will be Friday the 6th at 10 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Maglonia. Is there anything further? There being none, can I get a motion to, did you have anything? Can I get a motion to adjourn today's session? Thank you. A motion has been made and it has been seconded. Are there any objections to the motion? There being no objections raised, the motion hereby carries. This meeting is hereby adjourned. It is now 3:01 p.m. Thank you. Thank you to the members.